We haven't been together for our annual meeting for a few years. We've been doing that virtually. So it's really wonderful that we can be together in person to recognize all the outstanding work that's happening here at LifePath. And none of that would have been possible without LifePath's amazing and dedicated leadership and staff. Thank you. This year, we did say goodbye to some long-term employees. We provided advancement opportunities for some staff, and we welcomed new members to our team who bring new ideas, fresh energy, and a different outlook to the work. LifePath continued moving forward in 2024. We had another excellent year and much to celebrate. We continue to experience program growth and serve more individuals each year. Some highlights that I'd like to point out is our Meals on Wheels program has expanded home delivered meals from 175 to 183,000 meals. Amazing. I'm glad I'm not doing the cooking. Thanksgiving is enough. But they also, it's more than just a meal, they also provide wellness checks for over 1,100 individuals over the years. Our Shine counselors assisted over 3,800 individuals, and we've seen an increase in our home care enrollments to over 5,000 individuals. And our Community Engagement Center and Respite Scholarships provided over 3,600 respite hours for caregivers and care recipients. So needed. So some of these programs, you'll hear more detail from those who are much more knowledgeable about the day-to-day happenings. And these are just some of the few of the successes. But really, none of this would have happened if it wasn't for the results and hard work of our staff and volunteers. So on behalf of the board, I'd personally like to thank each and one of you for your energy and your unwavering dedication to moving our mission forward. Thank you very much. So in the spirit of acknowledging and appreciation of all your hard work, I'm proud of our agency's commitment to improving staff salaries and benefits throughout the year, which has included 3% salary increase and salary rate adjustments twice in January and then again in July of 2024. We distributed a 5% to the 401k this year. That was in October, and then just this month, we were able to provide a bonus payout on as a result of our positive FY24 performance. So these enhancements totaled nearly $1 million above our regular payroll expenses, and I'm very proud that we can do that, and I hope that we can continue to do this as we enhance our revenue streams, reduce expenses, and find efficiencies so that we can contribute to our employees in this way going forward. So regarding our financial position, LifePath received a clean financial audit with no material weaknesses, findings, or recommendations. So thank you, Phil, to you and your finance team for contributing to such a favorable report. In a dramatic swing from last year, we had an operating loss of $466,000 last year, but I'm happy to report that this year we have a surplus operating revenue of $707,542. This is close to a positive swing of over $1 million in just one fiscal year. The major contributors to this performance improvement were rate increases that we saw through state-funded program, as well as some hard work by our program directors who have embraced new tools and methods to monitor spending. These efforts build greater understanding and transparency and has been paying off, as you can see. It helps us to monitor our budgets and control costs better. So we maintain considerable reserves to help us with these ups and downs that can happen. And we ended the year with nearly $5.3 million in working capital. In demonstrating our program efficiency and financial and operational stewardship, 92% of our revenue went to consumers, and that's up 1% from last year. So thank you all. We do have a lot to celebrate. It was an excellent year. I'm optimistic about what lies ahead for the future of LifePath and look forward to moving our mission forward through another year. That's my cue that my time is just about up. But before I turn it over to Gary, I want to recognize his outstanding leadership. Although Gary joined us just a little over a year ago, he has accomplished so much already. He quickly and astutely acclimated by rolling up his sleeves, getting to know each of us, learning about the programs and about our partners, and navigating some complex program regulations. We appreciate the fair and process-oriented nature that Gary brings to tackling challenging situations. And above all, we enjoy your kind and welcoming approach. So on behalf of the Board of Directors, thank you, and hats off to a great year.
Thank you, Mary. Let me readjust this a little bit. I'm also going to set myself a timer. All right. All right. Thank you all for being here. Mary, thank you for your report. Can folks hear me okay? I might just hold this. It's a little awkward, but here we are. I feel like I have like an Oscar or something. So at last year's annual meeting, I'd only been here 8 months, and now coming up on 2 years in March, time is flying by, and it's flying by in a really good way. There's still a lot to learn, and I appreciate folks getting me and other team members up to speed on the many aspects of our complex and essential work. And I would also like to acknowledge and thank the board for their ongoing support, for their time, guidance, and dedication. Their engagement and alignment with our mission is commendable, so I really appreciate them. Mary gave some financial highlights, and Phil will expand upon those comments, so I will just leave it at that. Considerable time and effort has gone into orchestrating our financial turnaround, and that was my top priority for the preceding year. And I lost my place. Oh, there we are. Okay. Preceding year. Okay, now we're going to talk about the next year. But we also found time in this preceding year to streamline operations, refine some processes, improve oversight, and really lean into the cultural shift of openly sharing financial information with our teams. And that was really the key to the success. And I thank all of you for embracing that. I know that it's been challenging at times because it's new and it's different, but people have really embraced it and taken it forward and done something really, really positive with it. And you get to see that today, and we thank you. We will, of course, remain vigilant around our finances, but we can now devote some time and energy to other areas needing our attention. And one of those areas is relationships. We have done a great job over the last year of creating, nurturing, and oftentimes rebuilding relationships in the community. And this needs to be a coordinated effort. And I'm very thankful for my partners who've attended events and who've gone to partner meetings and who've graciously helped other partners in ways large and small, and who recognize the importance of community and collaboration. And many of you are certainly tired of hearing me say this, but the time for a relationship is before you need it. And that's what we're doing. So the fact of the matter is that none of us are in this work alone, and we all need to support one another so that we can best support the community members who are counting on us. And the importance of the connections cannot be overstated, and nurturing these relationships will be an ongoing and important part of all of our work. So some of the relationships we've prioritized are our wonderful legislative colleagues, Representatives Whips and Blay, who could not be here today, and Senator Comerford, who's sending a representative but who has not arrived yet. They and their teams have continued to show up for us this year, and we greatly appreciate it. We've also developed deeper connections with the mayor's office, our local police departments, the Greenfield Fire Department, and Bay State Franklin. We also aligned with the Franklin County Agricultural Society and Fairgrounds, thanks to our friend Jesse Dean at the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce, which resulted in a delightful new venue for the walkathon. I don't know if Jesse's here. I don't see her, but I'm gonna call her out anyway in absentia. I need to call her out because especially she has been working behind the scenes for LifePath for the last year, and she is a fierce advocate for our work. And she's doing it quietly, and she's doing it effectively, and we appreciate her. And we've increased engagement with the Dignity Alliance, who have been a highly valuable partner for us in legislative advocacy efforts. And we've been working even more closely with Mass Aging Access, formerly known as Mass Home Care for some of us, who have also been instrumental in our legislative efforts, while also providing more connections to the Executive Office of Elder Affairs and other state entities. And even with all of that, there are always new opportunities to explore. So I'm excited that we hired a development professional to lead our fundraising and marketing efforts. John, our Associate Director of Marketing and Development in the back, has truly jumped in and immersed himself in our work. He brings over 30 years in the nonprofit space and with 30 years of nonprofit leadership experience to the team. And Christine, please put your hand up, Christine. Thank you. Christine there is our new Associate Director of Human Resources, having just started with us 3 days ago. And we are very excited to have her here with us today. She brings many years of experience to her role as well, having also worked extensively locally in the nonprofit sector. And we also enhanced support across the agency over the last year by adding incremental positions in the Berkshire Protective Services, money management, and information and referral. Also during the past year, we've remained committed to our DEIB work, and we will continue to do so. As part of this work, we had an impressive turnout by LifePath teams and board members at the Pride Parade and Rally this summer, and Susan will talk more about that. We were also designated a women-run nonprofit by the Massachusetts State Diversity Office, which not only recognizes once again the contributions of our majority female board, but also makes us a more attractive vendor for entities who wish to engage with us around some wavered services. Looking forward, we know we will be presented with challenges. We continue to make strides with our wait list, but the referrals are coming in at record rates. Workforce shortages are still a real problem and likely to be so for some time. At the same time, the complexity and severity of cases is rising across all of the programs. I know people are feeling this and they're seeing it every day. Projections tell us that the number of individuals needing support is going to climb at a more rapid rate than we have seen previously, and this will present even more of a workforce challenge. And we've already been told that the next 2 state budgets are going to be difficult, and we do not yet know what a new federal administration may bring, but indications are that there could be reductions in federal funding, along with changes in the ways states receive funding for the work that we do. So like last year, we should take pride that we served more individuals. There are many ways to measure success, and the fact that we provided more services and had a positive financial year looks like success to me. We're sorry that time doesn't allow us to comprehensively review every program and thank every person. And a revamped annual report is on the way, and I'm excited for folks to see it. It is a bit more comprehensive, a little fresher, and one of the best ways to show just some of the ways that we are making a difference for over 10,000 individuals a year in our community. I want to extend a sincere thank you here to all of you, and for the people who cannot join us today, for all the ways you contribute to our mission. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Finance Director Phil Gilfether-Gurton. Thank you.
I guess I'm going to try to hold this a little. So I'm just going to throw some numbers at you to kind of follow up on what Mary said earlier. So last year we had about $25 million in revenue. The preceding year in 2023, our revenue was about 20.7 million. So we had an increase of about almost $4 million in revenue. We had expenses last year of 24.7 million. The math means that that's where we get the $700,000 increase to our net assets. And what was the next math question I was going to ask you? Right, that is the math. And then I wanted to reiterate Mary's comment about 92% of that went to program and funding programs. Part of our increase in expenses was $2.1 million in additional purchase of service, which means purchase of service from local vendors, which is a good thing for the local economy. And the only other thing I had to touch on for about last year is that we instituted a short-term investment policy, and I like to term it local CDs for local communities. We invested in a CD initially with Greenfield Savings Bank, in part because 74% of their assets are spent and invested in Hampshire and Franklin County, which is a good thing. And we'll continue to do that with our other banking vendors over this next year. We have relationships with Greenfield Northampton Cooperative Bank, as well as the Athol Savings Bank. So that's all I had for last year, and I did want to give a quick report for this fiscal year through the first quarter. We had about 2% increase in revenue over what was budgeted, and we had a 3% reduction in the expenses that were budgeted, which leaves us about $90,000 ahead of where we had anticipated to be for fiscal year 25. So we are off to a good start. We'll keep an eye on it. And again, I do also want to thank all of the program directors and program staff for embracing more numbers in their lives. And I get to turn it over to Lynn Feldman, our Associate Executive Director and Planner. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I guess I'm the middle-sized bear here.
Yeah.
It's just right. Great to see everyone here today. I'd like to share a little bit about our efforts this past year to build collaboration between programs across client services, community services, all for the benefit of the consumers that we serve. Staff and volunteers have really come together this past year, working across those team lines to bring ingenuity, effort, skill, and resources to the task of supporting people, and as Gary mentioned, people who are in increasingly challenging situations. And here's just a couple of stories that I think illustrate what I'm trying to talk about here. So one story that came to mind was out of our long-term care ombudsman program, which is a program that advocates for residents of nursing and rest homes here in Franklin County in the North Quabbin. Last spring, a woman who had emigrated from another country and who did not speak much English had landed in one of our local nursing homes. Once she was well enough, she indicated to that volunteer ombudsman that she really wanted to leave that facility and find a suitable home in the community. And through a focused, very consumer-centered effort led by the Ombudsman Program Director, Trevor Boding, and assisted by team members from the Options Counseling, Community Transitions Liaison, and Adult Family Care programs, LifePath was able to assist this person in not only leaving the nursing home, but also finding suitable housing in a home that even had people who spoke her language. Wonderful success, and thank you to those team members who worked on that case. Last July, Seems like distant memory now, but when it was exceeding 90 degrees, the Meals on Wheels, one of our Meals on Wheels drivers reported that an individual that she was delivering a meal to on the third floor of an apartment building was dealing with a lot of heat, excessive heat inside that apartment. So she reported Darlene, who took the call from the nutrition team. She and her supervisor, Jane, connected with that consumer's care manager in the SCOPE program, Amanda, as well as the ICRC program director, Patty, to work together to find funding and procure and deliver an air conditioner for this individual, all in the space of a couple of hours. So on a super hot afternoon, they were able to come together and get some relief for this individual and also just protect them from the ill effects of potential excessive heat. Another case this past summer, the Healthy Living team, led by its director, Amy Weissman, together with LifePath's registered dietitian from the nutrition program, Bishek, and a long-serving volunteer, Julia, overhauled and enhanced its 6-week healthy eating workshop series. This is a collaboration between nutrition and healthy eating to improve a program for folks who wanted to improve their diets in an evidence-based way. So the updated curriculum provides practical education on improving your diets, as well as support from those others who are in the workshop with you. And to accompany the updated program, yet another volunteer, Diane, created a companion recipe book for program participants. So this was also made available. It was created fully by the volunteers and was made available to program participants. So I appreciate the collaborative effort there to enhance this important program. We all know how important nutrition is to our well-being. And my final story I'll just tell is that recently during the Mass Health redetermination process, one of our consumers who has extensive health needs was facing a disruption to her health insurance, which was very disturbing to her. Her medical advocacy volunteer, medical advocacy is a program that matches volunteers with folks who have a lot of complex medical needs and need some support navigating that. Her volunteer, David, provided a lot of encouragement and support during this ordeal, and her home care case manager, Lori, assisted her to reach out to the SHINE program for help. And I'll just share in the consumer's words what she had to say after the fact. She said to us, "I wanted you to know that Lorraine entirely fixed the math health problem and my Commonwealth health has been reinstated. Celebrate emoji, happy emoji." Lorraine is amazing, amazing. Her knowledge of plans, breadth of available contacts to tap, and the facts at the tip of her fingers was remarkable, let alone her professionalism with the Mass Health agents and gentle kindness toward me in the midst of my intense worries. It was both impressive and ideal for this situation. And thank you also to David, my medical advocate, for being so supportive during this difficulty. So it's not just Lorraine, it's the entire team. I want to extend my appreciation for their willingness to collaborate and come together to support people who are sometimes dealing with very complex and challenging situations. It's a really all hands on deck situation sometimes, and I admire the work that you all have done to break down those silos and come together. A couple of other major program achievements this year that I'll just mention. LifePath has received 2 grants totaling over $500,000 over 5 years to implement the Age and Dementia-Friendly Action Plan. And to that end, we have hired a program director, Jason Maloney. Jason, you're here, just wave. There you are. Jason comes to us with age-friendly experience, and we are very excited to see where this program goes in the next few years. This is the action plan. It's available on our website. This is our LifePath's venture in community engagement to develop a plan for a community effort to create a more age-friendly and dementia-friendly space, not just in the services that we provide, but in the infrastructure and the supports that are provided by other organizations and general collaboration. The Rainbow Elders program, headed up by group facilitator Chris Carl, hi Chris, expanded this year. Chris was able to add a 4th social event each month, providing some support in Orange, which is the first time we've had social support for LGBTQ plus elders in the North Quabbin, in addition to the existing events here in Greenfield, Sunderland, and some online activities that happen with Rainbow Elders, and provides that essential social connection for LGBTQ plus older adults. Another mention, LifePath supports something called this Massachusetts Farmers Market Coupon Program. And in this program, this is a great program, provides low-income elders with $50 worth of coupons to spend at farmers markets in the summer. It helps elders, it helps the farmers. And this year, after we distributed our full allotment of coupons, the calls still kept coming in. So Jane Severance, the program director, kept a waiting list, and with that waiting list, she was able to go to the state and advocate for more coupons, send more coupons, need them. She got them, and then she personally delivered them through the mail to each individual on that waiting list. So we have a lot of happy people with their vegetables, happy farmers, and making us look good. So thank you, Jane, and her whole team. Again, I can't call out everybody who deserves to be called out in this 5 minutes that I have here today, but thank you all for your efforts. We just have some stellar team members, and I just wanted to take my 5 minutes and really showcase that for all of you since you've come here to listen and learn a little bit more about the work that we do. Just one final note, on a sadder note, we are very saddened to announce the passing of longtime LifePath volunteer Marvin Kelly. Marv was an integral part of the Innovative Rides for Health program, serving as both an anchor volunteer to the program since 2015 and a program advisor, essentially a co-designer of the Rides for Health program. He was also a longtime member and current president of the Citizens Advisory Board. We want to share our deepest condolences with Carol, Marv's family, and friends. He will be dearly missed. So thank you so much. I'd like to, at this point, pass it over now to Diane Roby, Director of Client Services.
So thank you. November is a timely time for our annual meeting. It's a time of gratitude and of thanksgiving. I would like to give my thanks to staff, volunteers, and board members who devote their time to carrying out our mission and to upholding our values of choice, inclusion, well-being, community, stewardship, and social action. And to our community partners who help us create communities that allow people of all cultures, ages, and abilities to find their path to living well and aging with dignity. I, too, am going to go by the numbers, and so I want to highlight 5 different programs that have either seen increases due to grants or who have had major audits. So the first, as was mentioned, was our Information and Caregiver Resource Center. So we received a small grant from the state to provide 10 hours of benefits counseling to help with redetermination. So during COVID, people who were on Mass Health did not have to renew their Mass Health, and then COVID ended, and then we had all of these people who needed to renew their applications, and we got 10 hours to be able to do that. But we were also able to supplement that with a grant from the National Council on Aging for our Benefits Enrollment Center, which started in January. So through those 2 programs, we assisted 276 families. The National Council on Aging has estimated the support of Mass Health, SNAP, and fuel assistance to be over $20,000. So not all of those individuals were assisted with all of those applications, but even if you take that small number of 276 and you multiply that by $20,000, well paid for the 2 staff who assisted with that. 106 individuals who were living in 4 nursing facilities have been assisted through our Community Liaison Program, which has resulted in a number of those individuals being able to return to community, and others who are getting the assistance that they need. We know that one of the major barriers for people leaving facilities is housing, so it takes a longer time. Through changes in programming, we're now able to work with those individuals for as long as it takes. Where previously we may have worked with somebody for 6 weeks, we can now work with them for 4 or 5 years if that's what it takes to get housing for them. So appreciate the work there. Just going to grab my water. Another one of our programs, which has assisted 180 people, is our Hospital to Home program. Again, this is another grant-funded program that we have in combination with Bay State and with Greater Springfield Senior Services. So 180 people have been assisted in transitioning home from the hospital and having services set up for them. Our resource consultants answer over 9,000 calls a year, and as part of that, they're putting in referrals. We've worked with our quality improvement manager on improving the way that we process internal referrals, which has resulted in a much easier and timely process for making those internal referrals and getting people services quicker. Our PCA program serves, I know a lot of numbers, right? Our PCA program serves 1,700 individuals. And as part of that process, Massachusetts has been the last state in the nation to require electronic visit verification. And so all of those consumers are now needing to have their PCA use their phone to say that they've checked in and they've checked out for the services that they've provided. This has increased the calls to our skills trainers who are providing that assistance to both the consumers and to the PCAs. And also a program that has been severely impacted by the nursing shortage. And so a very stressed program that continues to provide excellent services through this period of time. They also completed an audit. They had 1 week to prepare all of the documents that were needed for internal review, and then additional documents that needed to be sent off. We're waiting to hear about that review. We hear that it takes like a year, but we have full confidence in the program. The AFC Shared Living Program also completed an audit and also was able to, through a RFP process, obtain a 10-year contract to continue to provide shared living services to individuals with developmental disabilities. Through, again, a competitive RFP process, we were able to expand our supportive housing sites to include Sanderson Place, which brings our total number of supportive housing sites up to 6. We have 240 units of supportive housing for individuals. We have 2 congregate sites with 26 housing units. That program also met expectations in the soft launch of redesignation, which is something that we're required to do for elder affairs, with an 86% rating. And as Mary already mentioned, 3,600 hours of respite were provided through the Community Engagement Center, which provides opportunities for individuals to receive engaging programming, giving their caregivers a break 2 days a week for 5 hours. The program opened in October of 2023, so it wasn't even a full fiscal year that we provided those services. The program moved to the corporate center at the end of May, which allowed us to expand our space and be able to offer more dynamic programming. And we also received a planning grant to help us look at the best practices and with a plan towards sustainability, because that program grant ends in March. I would like to take a moment to read a letter that came from one of our individuals who received services from us. And it's a little hard to read, so just be patient with me. So, to the LifePath supervisor, this letter of appreciation is long overdue. I met with Linda several years ago, and my life has never been the same. Thank God. I called LifePath and Linda to come to my house because there was a shortage of employees. I was in a lonely, dark, dangerous situation. I was honest with the staff, and she didn't give up. Her sensitivity and compassion helped me out of the darkness of drugs and despair, for which I will forever be grateful. LifePath eventually provided me with a TV, so I came connected to the outside world for the first time in 5 years. Staff toiled endlessly to help me find a counselor, as the person who worked with me was not able to continue. But they didn't give up, and they finally found a counselor. And I am now proud to say that I have been in recovery for 3 years, sober, thanks to the help and encouragement that was provided by LifePath staff. And finally, helping me to find a safe home at Elm Terrace after being evicted. Justin, who is here, has been a big help and always encouraging. I kid him that he should be the poster boy for LifePath. Thank you again for being such an important part of my life. May God bless you and all the work that you do. Gratefully yours. So I, too, extend my thanks to all of you for the work that you do on behalf of the people that we serve. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Susan White, the Director of Community and Volunteer Resources.
And actually, we have a bit of a surprise change. So I'm going to ask right now Elena Cohen to come up. So Elena Cohen comes to us today representing Senator Comerford's office. And I'll turn it over to you. You have to speak right in.
Good instructions. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Elena Cohen. I'm Senator Joe Comerford's district director. And the senator asked me to come, and she's sorry not to be here herself, but we wanted to present a Senate citation to LifePath on this momentous occasion. And we join Representatives Blais and Whips, who I know presented a citation at the walkathon. So this is a counterpart to that. We don't want to be left out in the Senate. So I'll just read this. It's a official Senate citation. Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to LifePath in recognition of 50 years of LifePath providing essential choice-based services to our community by expertly supporting older adults, individuals living with disabilities, and their caregivers. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to, and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate. And it is signed by the Senate President Karen Spilka, the Clerk of the Senate, and Senator Joe Comerford. So.
Wow. One more. Great, thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you all for all your work.
Thank you, Elena, for coming, and thank you for the wonderful recognition from the Senator's office. You were acknowledged earlier, and we mentioned that our representatives continue to show up for us in ways big and small over the last year, and we thank you for it. Thank you for being here. So we will move back to our regularly scheduled programming, and we will invite Susan White up.
Thanks, Gary. I like being regularly scheduled programming. My name is Susan White, and I'm so grateful to be here. I've been with LifePath for 5.5 years, and never for one day have I ever doubted the mission and the importance of the work that we do. And I tell people often, after many years in the working world, that I love working with my colleagues. There's not one person at LifePath that I do not enjoy working with, and that's an amazing experience. So I'd just like to give a shout out to everybody. We all do our parts, and as a result, we help close to 10,000 people in this region who can't advocate for themselves and get what they need, and we help do that. I have the wonderful opportunity of being able to introduce a film to you today. This film is our diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging film. It's accumulation of funding support from LifePath's Board of Directors. Many of you are here today, and thank you for your support for this very, very important investment that you've made in LifePath as an agency, and also one that we hope will have a ripple effect and impact across the state of Massachusetts. LifePath's Board of Directors invested in this work, and so did the Rural Roots Exchange Project that is affiliated with the New England Rural Health Association, which is another very important regional association that is working to advance work that brings diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging into all the work that we do. I also want to just pause and call out Kate Brown, the Associate Director of Operations. She is our humble and fabulously talented LifePath coworker who was my close partner on this film project. This project took 6 months to create and was a collaboration that was led by and designed by Self-Evident Education. Selfevidenteducation.com is an amazing website to visit if you're interested and engaged in these issues, or if you aren't, it's a good introduction. This work about this film is accumulation of work that included LifePath working with a team of 4 South African facilitators and 110 of LifePath's 150-person staff over a year period. It also included, thank you very much to the incredible work of my colleague Lynn Feldman, engagement and work with the Citizens Advisory Board and the Rainbow Elders Steering Committee. This film is intended for LifePath staff and LifePath volunteers primarily. However, we created this film in a way that other agencies or resources could utilize it. We recognize that many people do not have the funding or the network available that we had at our accessible to us to create a film with the expertise of Self-Evident Education. We are now recognized as a result of this film and the work that's been going on at LifePath for a number of years. This was not a new initiative. I always say effective diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging work builds on the shoulders of those who go before, most of them who have been unsung. So now LifePath across the state, as many of you know, LifePath is one of 24 aging service access points. We created this film so that LifePath and Gary in his service work at that level, along with members of the Board of Directors, could share this film when the time arises. We are also the first agency in the state of Massachusetts that was provided in the Executive Office of Elder Affairs' first ever diversity newsletter last year. 2 weeks ago, Gary and I presented our DEIB work in progress, that's what I wanted to say, never to be completed, just in progress, at the New England Rural Health Association Conference. It is a conference that reached across 7 New England states and had 350 participants, including a powerhouse panel of federal and state agencies engaged in rural health work. This conference was a reminder that LifePath is much further ahead in DEIB work as compared to similar types and sizes of organizations across New England. This does not mean kudos to us. It means we've taken responsibility for our leadership and the opportunity we have to share the work that we do to help advance other organizations' efforts in this arena. This training film that you're about to see is now a tool in our LifePath toolbox that is available to every single person in this room and is an opportunity to advance our message that tolerance is practiced at LifePath. The film, just the last 2 things I want to say here, it's 11 minutes long. The producer is Michael Lawrence Riddell. He was supposed to be standing here today and saying this stuff, not me. He unfortunately was taken suddenly ill and couldn't come. However, he is going to join us during National Volunteer Appreciation Week to have a session that talks about what it was like to create this film and also his work fighting systemic racism across the United States. We are very fortunate that he is located in Florence, Massachusetts, And so not only did he make good use of the investment we made, but for all the financial investment we weren't able to make to complete a film of this nature, he donated pro bono to us. The narrator you're going to hear is Khalif Neville. He is the dominant narrator in the whole film. There's a second narrator who speaks during the reflection points. There are 3 of them during the film. And please remember when you look at this is a training module film, that if you were utilizing it, you could pause it, you could do it in one run, you could not. So recognize that the density of it is a result of all the work that LifePath's been involved in, and that we look forward to carrying forward and sharing with all of you. So enjoy.
Welcome to LifePath's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, DEIB training module. At LifePath, we are dedicated to the well-being of senior adults, individuals with disabilities, and caregivers in the Western Massachusetts community. Our mission centers on providing person-centered service coordination, education, and support. Above all, we believe that every individual has a fundamental right to maintain their quality of life, dignity, and independence as valued community members. This training session is crafted to enhance human dignity and independence. LifePath is committed to embracing the diversity of everyone who works here, fostering an inclusive culture through our policies and training initiatives so that everyone feels a sense of belonging. To uphold this commitment, LifePath has invested in this DEIB training to foster a culture of lifelong curiosity, conversation, and compassion within our organization. Before we proceed, let's clarify what DEIB means to us. Diversity speaks to who we are. It encompasses the unique visible and invisible characteristics that make each of us special, such as gender, identity, sexual orientation, education, age, ethnicity, cultural background, family status, experience, and beliefs. Equity addresses the systems and policies that support how we succeed. Unlike equality, equity ensures fair and equitable treatment, recognizing past exclusions and providing access to opportunities, resources, programs, and practices for all, especially those historically disadvantaged. Inclusion refers to how we behave. It means consistently demonstrating empathy and inclusion towards one another, creating a collaborative culture where everyone can contribute to their full potential. Actions that go against these principles should be addressed, whether by calling out or calling in, depending on the situation. Belonging is how we are made to feel. It is the outcome of practicing diversity, equity, and inclusion. When we feel included, it engenders a sense of belonging, makes us feel secure, seen, supported, heard, and recognized for our contributions.
Now, let's reflect on your experiences. Think about different professional settings, including LifePath. In what ways have your professional community supported diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging? Conversely, in what ways have these values not been supported in your professional experiences?
Understanding DEIB naturally leads us to consider the barriers to achieving inclusion and belonging. It is crucial to approach this work without guilt or shame, as we all have work to do. Shame and guilt won't help us move forward, though you may feel these emotions. Instead, extend grace to one another and to yourselves. Interrupt negative emotions and lean into positive ones. If you fail, a timely and meaningful apology is an opportunity to reset and relearn. Let's explore the concepts of bias, prejudice, and stereotypes. A bias is a preference for or against something. Not all biases are bad. For example, a preference for your family or a favorite sports team. The issue arises when a bias unfairly impacts others. Stereotypes are standardized mental pictures held in common by a group, representing oversimplified opinions or prejudiced attitudes. For instance, the stereotype that doctors are men and women are nurses. Prejudice An irrational attitude of hostility towards an individual or group. An example is prejudice against baby boomers as being not tech savvy. Biases, whether conscious or unconscious, impact our interactions. Unconscious bias creeps into our perceptions without our intention, influenced by past experiences, socialization, and media. We all have unconscious biases, which do not make us bad people. The key is to be conscious and intentional about interrupting them before they become conscious biases. Conscious bias is when individuals are aware of their prejudices and attitudes towards certain groups. If left unchecked, it can result in numerous isms like racism, sexism, ageism, classism, ableism, and heterosexism. Institutional bias refers to policies and practices within institutions that produce outcomes favoring some while disadvantaging minority groups. Structural or system bias involves public policies, institutional practices, cultural representations, and norms that perpetuate inequities. Privilege is another important aspect to understand. Privilege is societally projected, which means that while we should understand that people's worthiness or influence should not come from their race or social condition, there are still ways society creates stories about people and groups that are not useful or accurate. Privilege exists not as an inherent or inherited thing, but as a way of communicating the stories of bias. When we address our privilege, we are deciding to tell different stories of what being a collaborator, or friend, or coworker looks like outside of the realm of racial or creed hierarchy.
Now, let's reflect on your experiences. Think about your own intersecting identities. What privileges do you have, and how did they affect your life?
Our journey to understand exclusion's impact on people of color or those with different abilities has led us to examine systemic racism. Systemic racism involves normalized policies, practices, and attitudes that produce chronic adverse outcomes for people of color, especially Black people. It's essential to look beyond individual behaviors and examine how societal systems produce inequalities. As we explore power, privilege, and oppression, remember that privilege comes in many forms, not just white, male, or financial. Privilege allows those plugged into power sources to move with ease and be seen as safe, familiar, trustworthy, and likable. We can't wish away our privilege, but we can strive to repurpose it to create greater inclusion and a sense of belonging. This is the essence of allyship. Allyship doesn't require monumental acts. It calls for mindfulness and consideration of how much space and voice we occupy. It involves advocating for others and creating more inclusion by amplifying their voices. We all play a role in transforming our interactions to create a culture that honors diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Reflect on your intersecting identities. How can you repurpose your privileges to help foster a culture that honors diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging?
Six characteristics of an inclusive leader. 1. Be cognizant. Nurture awareness of your surroundings, biases, and the systemic exclusion that may occur. Awareness helps interrupt bias and foster intentionality. 2. Courageous. Breaking down systemic barriers requires risk-taking and vulnerability. It means examining ourselves, speaking up, and being willing to venture into unknown spaces and conversations. 3. Curious. Curiosity leads to better collaboration and understanding, amplifying other voices and ideas. It's the seed for growth. 4. Committed. Stay the course despite setbacks. Forward movement and incremental improvement are vital for achieving meaningful results. 5. Collaborative. Diverse thinking teams are greater than the sum of their parts. Learning from others enhances everyone. 6. Cultural intelligence. Acknowledge different cultural perspectives. Listening is crucial in difficult conversations. It's about understanding, not responding. Listen to make others feel heard, seen, and valued. Listening acknowledges another person's truth without invalidating your own. Navigating difficult conversations requires breaking the cycle of blame and judgment. Lean on the 6 characteristics of an inclusive leader to create spaces of understanding. An organizational focus on honoring diversity, equity, and inclusion will create belonging, guiding us towards restoring our wholeness and humanity. As a LifePath volunteer or employee, you are invited on this journey. Reflect on what you've heard and discuss these concepts with your colleagues. Join us in creating a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment that supports a sense of belonging by bringing your best self forward and extending grace to others.
All right, I just want to acknowledge everyone's contributions and work towards the film and all of the work that led up to the film and all of the work that will happen after the film. So as I mentioned earlier, we've committed to this work. We will remain committed to this work and we will continue moving it forward. So more to come in that space. And now I'm going to turn it over to John O'Farrell, our Associate Director of Marketing and Development, and he's going to talk a little bit about acknowledging our 50 years and some exciting upcoming events.
Well, first I want to say that it is a great privilege to be a part of the LifePath team. I had no idea 6.5 months ago what I was getting into. And what I found was the biggest, most caring group of individuals I have ever met. And I totally, firmly believe in that because I have served in 8 different nonprofits organizations over the last 30 years, each with their positives, their negatives, their improvements to do. And I have to say that LifePath is a fabulous organization. I can only imagine 50 years ago, on July 19th, when we were incorporated back in 1974, that nobody at that table had any idea that LifePath would be around for 50 years. And at that point, Franklin County Home Care. It is a great organization, as you all know, because you pour your entire lives into everything you do. The diverse amount of programs that we have are absolutely stunning. I think the only thing that is stopping us in the next 50 years is our continued ability to be able to promote the good work that we do throughout the communities, throughout Franklin County, the North Quabbin community, our continual expansion into Berkshire, Hampshire, and Hampden counties. The work that you do can't be measured. There are so many great success stories here that it makes the LifePath story very easy to tell. I just recently wrote an article that'll be coming out on Monday in LifePath, and it talks about the power within. We all have the power within to make a huge difference. We wake up every single day and we have all these options and choices of things to do. We can stay in bed, we can go to work, we can do this. When it comes to volunteering, we have thousands of choices of where we can dedicate and volunteer our time. But we all get up in the beginning of our mornings and we all decide that it is going to be dedicated to helping other people, to being a part of our LifePath programming, and continue to do the best job that we possibly can each and every day. The next 50 years, I hope to be around along with everyone else for as long as I possibly can, and I look forward to seeing what we can accomplish in the years ahead. When I started on April 29th, I think it was, I was totally in awe by the welcoming committee that was just, it was a continual parade of people that were introducing themselves, telling me what they do, getting to know people over the months has been absolutely a tremendous experience. And I really value getting to know everybody over the last 6.5 months. It's been a great privilege of mine to be a part of that. In the next few months, as we will talk about really briefly, we just came off a successful transition of moving our walkathon operation, which is now in its 32nd year. We had the success of being able to transition it from our location at our offices in Greenfield in partnership with the Franklin County Fairgrounds to be able to have it hosted there. And I think that transition was a great success. Again, to the testament of the teams and everybody involved and the committee behind it, that transition was completely and entirely successful. It was wonderful to be able to do. We were blessed with absolutely great weather. I always believe in the philosophy that we try to control the things that we can control and forget about the things we can't control. And the weather was one of them. And, it was beautiful blue skies and fall foliage held intact, which is unheard of for the end of October. But I'm proud to say that the walkathon will be held again at the Franklin County Fairgrounds on October 18th of next year, which will add some consistency to moving a traditional spring event for 31 years now to a fall event in its 32nd and its 33rd year coming up in 2025. The walkathon moving into the fall is really the kickoff and celebration of our 50th anniversary. Overlooking all the things that we've accomplished over the years, from all our programs, the people that we've impacted, the difference we've made in the community. It's nothing short of spectacular, and everyone in this room needs to be really proud of all their efforts. It's really, really spectacular. The next few months, we will continue to celebrate in that tradition. We will focus on working with our Resource Development Committee, which I'm really happy to have 4 or 5 of the board members that are working month after month to help us to strategize on a more broad basis what our funding strategy looks like, everything from grant funding to our annual annual appeal campaigns, to our letter campaigns, to our traditional funding streams in regards to fundraising. But to that note, we are going to be working on a 50th anniversary reception in the spring. We are looking to have everybody invited to that as a celebration of all that we've accomplished and all that we are going to commit to continue to do in the months and the years ahead. I'm very, very excited about being here. I'm very excited about the future of LifePath, and I'm really very, very excited to continue to work with each and every one of you. It has been an absolute pleasure to be here, and I am going to close out my remarks by handing it back to Gary. And thank you very much for the time, and hand it back to Gary.
Thank you. So as John mentioned, this started off as the Franklin County Home Care. Anyone in the room who was at the old building? Judy is, okay, wow, a whole lot, okay, more than I thought it was going to be. So I think folks sort of can think back. I had never had the pleasure of being there, but I've heard really great stories about it, and some less great stories about it. But and I know that there are so many memories from there, and it's really nice to hear those on occasion from folks. But just think how far LifePath has come, and LifePath has come this far because of all of you and the people who are not in the room. So a big round of applause to all of you. So a big round of applause. And we finished up a little early because Michael Lawrence Riddell could not come, but that gives us time to mix and mingle. Please enjoy some snacks in the back. And we have the room until 5 o'clock, so don't hesitate to hang out. Connect with your colleagues, connect with our board members, talk to whomever you wish. If anyone needs the restrooms, they're right out the door and they're to the left because you've been in here a little while. And with that, I just want to thank everyone for coming today. Thank you very much.